blogger extraordinaire, Lonely Allie.
Thank you.
Thanks so much
Hi,
for joining.
everybody. Well, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so happy to be here.
Yay. I was really thrilled when Gift introduced me to your writing because I thought it's so genuine and authentic, and you have like a really strong voice. And so when we were thinking, who should we have on for our episode on this Black Disabled Excellence, no one better than you, my friend.
Yes,
Thank
yes.
you so much.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, hi everyone. I'm Gift. For those of you who are new to Crypto Corner, I'm a Black disabled man, wheelchair user, wearing glasses and navy blue shirt. And today we're talking about Black disabled excellence. And I am joined by the lovely Amy Lowe.
Why, thank you. I'm so glad you incorporated your description, so I'll do one for myself too. So I'm Amy, like Gift said, and me and Gift started this discussion series. Oh my gosh, like last spring, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like a wonderful way to connect with our people during this time of distance, and it's turned into quite an awesome like gathering spot. So thanks so much for joining us. And I'm sitting here in my little workspace. The walls are white, and I have a blue shirt on. Me and Gift are matching. And in the background, there's an image of the world map in rainbow colors, and it's got a brown like wooden frame. And then there's a little bookshelf to my left as well. And that's me. Oh, and I'm a white cis woman, and I got curly blonde hair today. It does different things, but today's curly. Yeah. And we're joined by Allie. And so, Allie, this is something new that we're doing where we want to work into our sort of intros, like a little description of ourselves. So you're welcome to do one, but if you're not up for it, that's totally fine too.
No, sure. So hi, everybody. My name is Allie. I'm a Black woman. I'm wearing currently a jean, kind of little, what is this, jacket thing? My hair does many things depending on my mood, but today it is a long curly ponytail. And yeah, I'm in my bedroom. The walls are white, and there's a painting behind me of someone wearing red lipstick with brown skin. So yeah, and I'm so excited to be here, and I can't wait to dig into the conversation.
Excellent.
Awesome.
We want to give a shout out to people on Facebook, which is sort of where we started this whole thing. And also a shout out to the people joining us on YouTube, because we're trying to branch out to different platforms to make it easy to reach in different ways. So hi, YouTube people. Welcome, welcome.
What's up? What's up?
Yes.
Yeah. And yeah, like just before we dive in, also to introduce our ASL interpreter, we have Brooke over here. And Brooke is wearing black shirt, plain black shirt, and the blue background, and tied up hair with some earrings. Thank you, Brooke, for joining us tonight. And then behind the scenes, whom you do not see, we have our friend Charles Matthews. He's going to be doing the technical stuff in the background to show us all the visuals that you guys will see throughout the series tonight.
Thanks, Charles. Charles is a powerhouse behind the scenes for sure. So thanks for being here again.
All right. Shall we dive in?
Let's dive. Are you warmed up now? Do you feel like you remember how it goes?
I think like first I love to know how our Crip fam is doing out there, how y'all been doing for the last few months. Just kind of like a little check in. And yeah, that'll be like super cool just to hear from you what you all been up to lately. And yeah, we'll dive in. I don't know if Amy, while people are thinking of what they want to say, if you want to like spill the tea a bit on what you've been up to over the last little while.
Me? Who, me? Yeah, well, what can I tell you? I mean, it's been a winter. I'm not gonna lie, it's been weird. So I've been trying to get outside as much as I can. Trying to get some fresh air, you know. It's been pretty good in terms of not being too icy, so I have been able to get out, which is really, really nice. And I know it's a privilege, especially at this time of many lockdowns and all that stuff. What else? I've been working a lot, you know. I guess it's kind of a distraction or just a way to stay focused and stuff. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I've been trying to read more like novels and stuff lately, so that's been kind of fun. Maybe we can talk a little bit about that later. Oh, I see the first comment.
We have a comment.
Yeah, Seely's writing, and they say, "Hey y'all, I'm psyched you're bringing this to YouTube. Go Team CTC."
Yes, yes,
My
yes.
face.
Thanks,
Thanks for
Siri.
having me, my friend. Mm-hmm. And everybody's welcome to write in the chat at any point, you know. Let us know how you're doing.
Yeah.
And how about you, Gift? What have you been up to? I feel like we actually haven't talked lately, which is kind of abnormal.
Yeah, it's very abnormal. I think we've all been like business talk all the time. But been doing good. Been doing good. Been super busy with various projects. Trying to keep my mind occupied during this lockdown sitch. But I'm just happy to be back here. I've missed this space. I've missed the space to connect with y'all, and it's just yeah, it's a good feeling. It's nice to be here. That's all I'm gonna say.
Totally agree.
Mm.
Let's introduce Allie.
All right, let's do this.
So Allie is a blogger, writer, activist, and she's back. She's back.
I guess she's back.
Yeah, we were just introducing you, and so we saw, you know, on your presence online, and you have such an engaging way of sharing, you know, your perspective and your artistry. And a few more things about you. You're a disabled sociology and sexuality student too, which is really cool. And
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, would you like to introduce yourself more?
Well, yeah, what you what you just said. I'm currently a student. I study sociology and sexuality studies, which a lot of people confuse with sexology, which is not quite the same thing. Sexuality studies touch more the social aspect, so the ways in which sexuality is present in society, and not very much so how people live, or rather how individuals deal with their sexuality. So there's a distinction to be made there. But yeah, I'm disabled. I live in Montreal. The disability that I have is called limb-girdle muscular dystrophy, which affects my mobility. So I'm someone with reduced mobility. I don't use walking aids yet, because it is a progressive illness. So eventually I definitely will, but I'm 23 now, and so I don't really need to do that. But this winter has been really not great. I noticed that I did lose quite a lot of mobility when it comes to having to walk alone with like boots and ice and wind. I do not like the wind, not my friend. So I'm very excited for winter to end so that I can go and take walks and just be out, because for now it is just not really possible, even though we are not supposed to go anywhere. So I guess, it's not that bad, but still.
Yeah, but it has an effect on our mental health too, not going out,
Oh,
so
totally.
yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, if ever you start using a cane at any point, I'll hook you up with a really cool British cane manufacturer. They make the cutest canes, so
I would definitely hold you to that.
yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, so yeah, I guess people can follow you on your blog, on Instagram. With your handle is Lonely Allie, right?
Yeah. I can write it in the chat. Can I add to the
Yeah,
chat? I'm not
yeah.
sure.
Top boom, right there.
Oh, there you go. That's
So
my
it's
Instagram.
cool. I'll just read it out. So it's at sign and then lonely LONELY and ALLIE. So Allie is spelled with an IE at the end.
Right.
Very nice.
Yeah, that's my personal Instagram. I also post about the things that I post on my blog. So I don't have like two separate Instagrams. I know a lot of people do that, but it is quite intentional for me not to, just because I don't want, there aren't two versions of me, like the places where I post things about me and my friends, and the music that I listen to is intimately linked to my activism work, because they're both integral parts of who I am. So if you are looking for just activism stuff, then I don't know, I'm definitely going to be posting about other stuff and but yeah, it is important for me to really mix those two things. And also because in all honesty, I do kind of want to shove my activism down people's throats, because we kind of have to do that. And so similarly, if you're just looking for selfies, then you're going to have to deal with a lot of other things as well. So
there you go. Yeah. It's like it's a mixed bag, but that it makes your like Instagram feed really interesting and fun too, because we kind of get a glimpse of who you are and also your ideas and what you're pushing for and stuff. So it's
thank
good. Yeah.
you.
Was that like always the direction you wanted to take when you started posting online, or did you change your ideas later on?
At the total beginning, not at all, I would say. Ooh, I feel like I'm lagging.
It's all right. Keep going. It's okay.
Okay. So at total beginning, no. But I would say first of all, when I got my diagnosis and when I, officially became disabled, I guess, or more visibly disabled, it did take me a while to get, I don't want to say used to the idea, but I guess that is the word, right? And so it did take me a bit of time before I became comfortable talking about that online. But once I got there, for me, it was important to talk about it, because whether I want it or not, it is a part of my everyday life, and it is something that I have to deal with all the time. And so, in order for things to change, I do think some people are going to have to speak up about it, and I want to be that person if that means I can change my life for the better, but also just my whole community. Um, so yeah, I guess in terms of like my actual feed, it is quite recent, but I was posting in my stories and stuff and before, but I would say my actual feed for it to become like a more like official part of my online presence, then yeah, it is quite recent. But I've had my blog for 2 years now, I think. Yeah, so a little bit over 2 years, I want to say. And I was sharing things on my Instagram there as well.
What got you into blogging, Allie? What kind of compelled you to start writing online?
So when I first started writing, I was in college. I don't even really know. I think I was in college and I saw a poster about the college that I went to starting a newspaper, and I was like, maybe I could join and like write stuff. And so the first ever article I wrote was a French article that I wrote um, on the relationship of young Black Quebecois
Hmm.
people and the relationship between their Quebecois identity and their Black identities, and basically starting with the question like, how do you identify, and then kind of going down from there. And it felt really liberating for me to write that article because as a Black woman being born here, I always had a complicated relationship with my Quebecois identity because there was definitely a moment in time where I realized that in the eyes of a lot of white people from here, I am not part of this, of this community. And so talking to other young Black people, and I also asked like my little brother's friends who are like at the time were like 14, and I was 19, 20. So yeah, it was definitely something I wanted to explore, and then I really liked writing that article, and so I just never stopped writing.
Oh,
Fabulous. So Charles is gonna throw the address of your blog up here for us. Thank you, Charles. And it's a bit of a long one, so I think for those of us who don't necessarily see the address, I'll just say Google Lonely Alley and blog, and it comes up. I tried it, so Lonely Alley and blog, it works too. That's so cool, though. I mean, one of the kind of things that we wanted to talk about today was like you mentioned it just now, but kind of the like double identity or the fraught kind of issue of being in Quebec, then also being Black, and then also being disabled. Like, what is that whole?
It's a lot.
Identities, yeah.
It's definitely a lot in terms of being Black and living in Quebec. I think, and that's one of the things that I wrote in that first article for me being 23 and and therefore being born in like 1998, and doing that, writing that article alongside younger kids, younger teenagers. um, it was funny because I remember the moment where I was like, you know what? I don't think I'm from here because the people here don't want me, right? And that moment happened when I was like 18. But for my brother's friends and for my brother himself, it was like 14. And then I have a younger brother who's 13 now. And I feel like that moment has already arrived way before when maybe he was like literally 10 years old. And so, and of course, that's not like science based research, but I do feel like there is something there that Black kids, maybe in Quebec, start earlier to disconnect um, with this province because they don't feel represented. And I think that's something that we should look into um, within the Black community, but also in the outside. I think even white Quebecois people need to ask themselves, why is it that Black kids do not relate to to Quebec in general? And as for my disabled identity, it was it was obviously when I became disabled and I got my diagnosis and everything. And I would say just to see how inaccessible the provinces and Montreal specifically, and how I, and still to this day, I keep asking myself, like, I'm not the first disabled person to be born here. There have been so many people before me. How is it that we're in 2021 and this city is still so horribly inaccessible? Um, there's something to be looked at there as well. There have been people asking for these changes. And when you read documents like the ACA, the Accessible Canada Act, and you really just wonder, like, are they actually trying to change these things? Are they actually making an effort? Because nothing seems to be changing. And so I think in both cases, whether it is about being Black or being disabled, I feel like the province is failing us as Black disabled people, but also so many other people as well. So I think overall, I think there's a lot of things to think about when it comes to who really gets to be welcome, to feel welcomed here, and who doesn't.
Hmm. So, like speaking of like feeling welcome, how was your experience within the Black community as a Black disabled woman, or when you first started identifying as a Black disabled woman? How was that like within the Black community?
I would say that's kind of difficult for me to answer just because I would say the extent to, like, so my dad is Haitian and my mom is biracial, but she was adopted by a white family. So um, one side of my family is as white as can be. And so I wasn't that immersed within the Black community as one would think. So it was usually most of the time my dad's side of the family, which I wasn't really that close to anyways for other reasons. But I would say for me it was definitely the moment where I realized that I really truly wanted to identify with that side of myself because it's most of who I am really. And to see that it was difficult for me to find people that I like really related to because I couldn't see a lot of Black disabled women online or
Hmm.
in the media because there's first of all there's just not a lot of Black women in the media period, and I think especially when these two identities became such a huge part of who I am, um, it was to become more critical of who exactly are the Black women that we get to see online and realizing how much the like how high the bar is for us, which is not the case for other women. And so, of course, being disabled, I felt like I just um, I could not reach that bar, and I could not fit that norm because of how different my body is to most people.
Hmm.
So that was definitely something that I kind of had to sit with and figure out. But at the same time, I do think it is important to just me existing is a great thing because I'm amazing, but
Yeah.
also because I get to be representation for people who wouldn't feel represented otherwise. And even if they're not necessarily Black, like I receive like quite often just people because I usually tag my pictures with LGMD, which is the acronym of my disability, and like I'll get a DM of like a girl from like Germany who's like, "Hey, I've been following you for a bit, and I just want to say that I came out to my friends about my disability last week, and I've been following you, and I just want to say that I really like to see you go, and that's partially why I found the courage to do that. So it's things like that that you just get like, wow, like someone literally in Germany knows about me and
Uh,
feels like I like inspired them to do something. That's so amazing. Um, and so yeah, I think even if I don't necessarily always feel super welcomed within the Black community, not out of malice, but just out of maybe ignorance and people not really knowing what to do. to be necessarily super inclusive, I still do make it a point to just exist and let myself be who I am, and just that in itself is more than enough.
Wow.
Damn right. Yeah. And it's funny because our theme tonight is Black disabled excellence, right? And I was thinking about it today, and I was like, there's so many different meanings of excellence, but one you kind of mentioned, like the over pressure for like Black and racialized people to like overperform in a way, and then to me, when I was thinking about it, I was like, I really hope that Allie knows that what we're saying is like your presence, just being out there, and what you offer is our definition of excellence, you know.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, I definitely. Ooh, that's Nelly.
We got a comment up, yeah. Oh, thank you, Nelly. You are awesome too. Awesome. Do we still have?
I feel like
Okay, okay.
all right.
Do you feel like reading something?
Sure. I'm sorry. My internet keeps blocking, so if I'm like not responding, it's probably because I did not hear, not because I'm ignoring you guys or anything. Okay. Sure. Okay. So I'm gonna read some of my stuff. So the first piece, well, extract that I'm gonna read is from a poem that I wrote about. I want to say maybe a year ago. I could be totally wrong though, but I think a year ago. I don't really remember what inspired me to write it either, but I did, and so here we are. It's called Black Beauty, and from Black Beauty, and I'm gonna read the end of it, and it's basically, it was kind of, I guess, a poem that I was writing about what I consider to be my beauty, and also the beauty of Black women specifically, and how it feels to have to deal with societal pressure and Eurocentric standards of beauty as a young woman. And so there you go. Because in the eyes of the world, a Black girl's beauty is only good for a short amount of time and under so many conditions. Yet the sun loves us so much he gave us the skin, and he misses us so bad he gave us hair that grows towards him. Our beauty is recognizable for seconds before it disappears into the clouds. The truth is, I am told that I am pretty so damn often, yet it sometimes just feels like no one ever really means it. Because women like me are the ones you use to lift yourself up as you walk all across your backs, pushing your faces deeper into the mud. The truth is, I wanted to be wanted before knowing what it truly meant, but Lord, I still don't know if I'll ever get there. Because by the time the word pretty leaves your mouth, it has already lost its meaning. It is no longer true. Because as Black girls were made to uplift everyone, from making you laugh to keeping you strong, and by making sure that, girl, you know where you belong. We are the partners in crime who can't find a cellmate. We are the lock that nobody wants to open. We are the hand nobody wants to hold, because we are strong and independent and we do not need no man. But the truth is, our hands get cold too during this winter time, and our lips get lonely during those summer nights. I'm tired of being the last bell you ring. Is it because we're magic that we don't deserve the real thing? But I will no longer listen, no longer care. I am so much more than your judgmental stare. I am beautiful from the root of my curls to the end of the world. I am too busy loving my sisters to hear you compare me to all the others. To all the men who do look like me, how can you be so blind? To not see the beauty in your own, then go join the ones throwing us stones. I am begging for love. I am done begging for love. I am sending myself a black dove. Hating yourself to you may be visceral, but to me, it was just ephemeral.
Wow. That is amazing.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
sharing.
I think I have the link for the full piece somewhere. So I can add it in the chat.
Yeah, we'll put
Can I
it in
though?
the comments for both reads.
Right, okay, because I'm not even sure to know how to do that. So
Yeah, we'll Charles will put it in there.
all right, there you go. It's right here.
Perfect. Thank you. Wow, that's amazing.
Thank
Did
you
you
so
write that
much.
in one sitting, or how? What was the creative process behind it?
I wrote it in like 2 sittings, I would say. Originally it was shorter than when because I like wrote it on my phone, and then when I actually uh I actually got to my computer to like put it on my blog, I wrote more of it. Um, so yeah, originally I think it ended about halfway, and then I added more stuff. Um, and yeah, I feel like it's one of the pieces. It's one of the pieces on my blog that doesn't have that many reads, but to me, but also just because it's different from the other stuff that I post, so I kind of expected it. But um, to me, it was definitely something that I felt like I needed to write because for a long time I guess I felt all of these things, but I felt like not putting them down um made it easier for me to have to deal with these things, and I don't know, it just felt really relieving to um to share that and to just put it down and just like kind of send it into the world. So yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, I remember I was showing it to Amy when we were first reading your work, and we were just like, wow, this is very, very well written and very well expressed.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
We welcome any questions or comments from the folks listening.
So I did have another piece.
Yes, please.
Okay. So the other piece that I have is from my article called Desirability Politics. Desirability politics is something that I got into about literally a year ago, I would say, that I started to research more. And again, kind of for the same reasons as the first piece, I was finding myself questioning a lot um, how I was being perceived in the world, and doing a lot of introspections. And um, I feel like it's gonna sound like I'm de-responsibilizing myself from like criticism or whatever, which obviously is not the case. But I think there's just a sad reality that when you're a young Black woman, people perceive you a certain way, and then it's very easy to internalize that and just think to yourself, "Wow, I'm a horrible person." When in reality, a lot of the times, it says more about the other people than it says about you. And so yeah, I wrote that after doing research on it and finding that this research really backed a lot of the feelings that I had. Um, so yeah, and then it's specific in this case. It's specifically about dating, but obviously it is a concept that can apply to like literally everything else. Um, so yeah, it is paragraphs are not in order just for logical reasons, but again, I think the link for the full piece will be in the comments. So yeah, we talk about desirability politics when we look at the level to which someone is seen as desirable because of their social position. Your social position is constructed by your economic class, your social class, your sexual orientation, your race and ethnicity, whether you're cisgender, transgender, and also whether or not you're disabled. It takes into account the ways in which you're privileged and marginalized before having to consider the details of your physical appearance. Men have more to gain than women in this situation, but they also have more to lose. In a society where it is believed that all a woman can bring to the table is her body, if it is not considered to be desirable, then you are seen as useless. Being Black and therefore being racially marginalized is already a struggle of its own because the expectations for Black women are so high. The bar for us is so high. The fetishization of Black female sexuality exists through our bodies and what we are expected to do with our bodies. We must know how to dance and be sexually dominant because that is the fetish attached to us. Physically, there are things I cannot do because of my disability, and so in the eyes of certain men, I become sexually incompetent. As a human, I am now useless. So, yeah, I feel like it ends on a very dark note, but it's just because I didn't really know where else to cut for it to make sense. But I wrote this alongside my first ever talk, actually, which was at the Access and Praxis conference that happened last April. And I talked about it in my talk when I was talking about dating and how at some point in like my early 20s, I started to realize that, my white female friends were treated quite differently by men than I was. My white friends got to have the cute little love stories with nice boys, and I didn't. And I always had to work so hard to like get just the tiny bits of respect from men. And I could not understand what it was, what type of curse was under my name. But I think at that point, it just became obvious that first of all, the men that I was pursuing didn't see me as the best option. And therefore, knowing that, I changed the people that I was trying to date. And that helped a lot. But also to really realize that it says more about them that it says things about me. To have someone consider you less than because of something you cannot change, like your disability, like your race or your weight or whatever. And knowing that people see you as less than because of these things, that's not a you problem, that's a them problem. And I think a lot of people would gain learning about desirability politics, even if it is definitely a subject that is a little bit sensitive, I guess, because these are things that are not nice to hear. But I think it stops you from being so insecure. At least to me, that's really what the effect that it had. First of all, to feel like I wasn't alone in that struggle, and that sure, there are people who are not going to like you just because that's life, and you just move on. But there's also people who won't value you for things that you should never feel sorry about. So, yeah.
Wow. How did you come to grips with that? Like to know that like you are worthy, like you have value, and like what was the turning point?
I mean, it's definitely a process. It is, and I'm nowhere near close to the finish line, definitely. But I think for me, a lot of it was that, and I came out about my disability about a year ago, and it's so incredible to see like the following that I've gained and the opportunities that I've had since then. It's literally like almost a year. I want to say day for day, but I don't think that's what it is. But you know what I mean. So yeah, and I think it is for sure a process that, like I said, is nowhere near finished. But I think coming clean about it and telling people and having like reassurance from the people in my very life, like my close circle, being like, this is not something that you should feel sorry about, and this does not change the way that I view you. That was a big part of it, to know that I wasn't alone and that I wouldn't become alone because of it. And then in terms of just my identity as a whole, right? Like being a Black disabled woman, um, it's something that I take every day, you know. And there are some days that are very, very, very difficult, but then there are days when I'm like, you know what? I don't care. I don't have time for you. And I think that's something that I wish everybody can understand and internalize as much as possible, because life is short and is precious, and um, you have value. You simply do. And if some people um, are not good enough to understand that, then this is a them problem, not a you problem.
Mm.
Oh,
I find I really, I don't know, it's one of those catch-22s in a way, because you said like once you revealed your certain diagnosis, then people around you were able to kind of say, we still are here for you, like we're not going to abandon you, basically. But then on the flip side of that, you kind of needed to share that, right? Like there's always that kind of that pressure to like reveal information, then have faith in the people that you're sharing it with, that they will treat it right, right?
Yeah, and also like I don't disclose it to. I mean, now I guess it's a little bit different, because if you follow me on Instagram, you're gonna know. Um, which is, and especially because we're not going anywhere, like the only way that I'm socializing with anyone is through social media, and Instagram specifically. So yeah, it's kind of this thing where like most people who know me know about it. But at the time, like a year ago, it was like sometimes like people that I hadn't talked to in a long time, like being like, oh, like I didn't know, and like I think it's so great that you're doing this, and blah blah blah. And but now I think it is more of this thing where it's like, if you know, then you know, and if for you that's a deal breaker somehow, then we don't have to talk much further than that anyway. So why are we even talking about it,
Mm-hmm.
But for sure, I think it is something that you have to disclose in order to have this feeling of confidence, like, okay, no, this person is really in it, and which shouldn't be necessary, obviously, but sometimes just for like I guess practical things, and specifically because I'm like physically disabled, it is to a certain degree like invisible to but um like I said earlier, it won't be for that much longer. So at this point, I'm just like, I don't know how quickly I would disclose it in person, but I don't really know. I'm just really like, if that's not something that you can accept, then I don't want to have to deal with you.
hmm.
Legit.
Wow. What excites you right now?
Like in life in general?
In life, anything, yeah. Anything that comes to mind when you hear that question.
Mm. Ooh, that's a good question. I don't really know. Um, I feel like I would say like March break, but I'm probably going to be doing homework the whole time, so I don't really know. um, I would say the summer, honestly. It's still a long way to come, but I would say the summer because, like I said, like I just want to go outside, and yeah, like just go to the park and breathe fresh air. That's just really something that I'm craving right now. So yeah, and hopefully like we get to have a little bit more freedom in this summer, depending on how like vaccines go and stuff. So yeah, summer is really what's keeping me alive right now. Just this hope that I'm gonna get a little bit of sunlight.
Nice.
What excites you right now, Gift?
What excites me right now? all the future projects that are brewing in the stove right now, that I cannot disclose in public at the moment. But that's what's exciting me right now. Um, and yeah, and the people that I am uh, in the kitchen with, metaphorically speaking. Um, yes, that,
Making some delicious snacks.
yes, we're doing some gumbo. We're doing some serious stew. You know. So yeah. What about you?
I'm
Thanks.
excited to meet my little niece.
Ah,
I'm excited to hold little baby. She's like 6 weeks old now, I think. So I can't wait to see her. That's one of the exciting things for sure. Hmm.
that's awesome. Cool, cool. So, what's next for you, Ali? What's coming up next for you?
I also have things cooking in the kitchen that I cannot quite disclose as well. But in terms of things that I can say, I will be having an interview with CBC Montreal tomorrow, which I'm excited about, and I will be posting it on my Instagram for people to catch up on. Um, so I'm excited for that. In the long run, I'm excited to graduate eventually. I should be graduating in spring 2022, so I'm excited about that. And shortly, I will be starting to uh, build my master's application, because I want to go to graduate school. So that's going to be very stressful, but could be great. So so I'm excited about that. Um, and
Will
yeah,
that be in the
a
same
lot
field?
of the other things. Sorry?
Well, that do you want to do a master's in sociology too, or in a different field? Got a bit of a lag here. Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay.
Awesome, we're back.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't hear that, what you said.
Oh, no problem. I was wondering what kind of grad studies you want to do.
Right. So for a while I was like, I want to go to graduate school. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but but I've been obviously looking more closely because I would be like, if I was to apply for next year it would be literally like in a year because usually grad school's application end in January. So yeah, but I have been very closely looking at York University in Toronto. The disability justice program that they have there seems really, really great. From what I read, it is the only program in Canada doing that. So um, that would give me like great knowledge that most people wouldn't have because this program doesn't exist in many other places. So yeah, I've been looking at that. Because we don't know how life is going to be in like next like in September 2022. um I don't know if I would have I it would be remotely, if I would have to move there or not. But for now I'm just going to try and apply and see how it goes. But yeah, I definitely do want to do more disability related um school, even though, because even if I do have, I guess, a lot of knowledge on what it's like, having like ingrained like school, university related education is important to us, I think. So
Nice. Yeah, it can be empowering to learn more about the social side of it. Like sort of like what you mentioned earlier, where you're not really looking at the personal like experience necessarily, but like the structures that make it a thing in the first place. So yeah, I've heard good things about that program. So
Yeah, exactly.
good. Mhm. Gift was also a sociology nerd in his heyday.
Yeah, I wouldn't say nerd, but yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Back in the days, yes, when I was keen for academia. Yeah, I blame it on capitalism. Money became the focus. Seek knowledge, friends.
Hmm.
Cool. Do we have any questions out there from people that want to ask Ali or any of us? Or comments? It doesn't have to be a question.
I see we missed a comment a while back from Steph. Hi, Steph. Oh, there we go. Yeah, she said, I think this was after your poem reading, and she wrote, wow, what an amazing extract. I'm blown away. Definitely want to read more of your texts. Thanks,
Well,
Steph.
thank you so much. The link should be somewhere in there. And yeah, I don't have other poems. I do have a piece of creative writing that I posted again a while back on there. But yeah, but I should definitely try and write more poems, I guess, because I do think it's kind of liberating. I just kind of feel like it's so corny, so I'm like, I'm not going to do that. But
Just write the thing.
right, yeah.
Worry about what people call it later,
Yeah.
Genre anyway. Mm-hmm.
Any other comments, questions? No? All right. I have a very unrelated question for you. Favorite dinner guest?
My favorite dinner?
Dinner guest.
Dinner guest. Ooh, like someone that I would have dinner with?
Yes. Anyone in the world.
Ooh, that's such a good question.
And why, of course.
I feel like I would probably say Ava DuVernay, because I've became familiar with her work. The first work of hers that I watched was When They See Us on Netflix, which scarring, but literally soul moving. And I've watched also 13 on Netflix as well, and like watched interviews with her, and she seems just so grounded and passionate, and she seems like she has this like this bright like flame inside of her that is just like comforting but also so powerful. And yeah, I would love to have a talk with her. And I don't know, I feel like she's a really soothing person to be around, and I would definitely love to get to know her, because I do think what she did with that miniseries is soul changing, literally.
Awesome.
Who would you have as a dinner guest? If you could have any.
My goodness. I would say Martin Luther King Jr.
Good choice.
The reason being because I like his acting style, and also I'd be curious to know how he was able to balance his faith with his also left-leaning views within activism, and how he was able to deal with the pushback from the church in general. So I'd be curious. I'd want to know because I am a person of faith, and I'm also an activist. And I find that yeah, in both those worlds, it can be difficult as a person who's identifying as both. So yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Gift, do you have any inklings about what he would say?
I think
One step further.
I think he would say, well, you know, Jesus was radical, so just keep being radical.
Mm.
That's my inkling. I think that's what Martin Luther King may say.
And then there'd be a little mic drop moment.
Mic drop moment. Yeah. I'm curious for Amy. What is
Mm.
what who do you
Well,
suggest?
look, I brought a little show and tell because I had an inkling you were going to ask me that. So I've been working my way through this book.
Ah,
And so my special dinner guest would be Anais Nin. Because I just love to like sit and listen to her talk basically. Because the way that she writes is like you you start reading the story and you're like, what's happening? Where am I? And then about halfway through, this is my experience, but halfway through, I'm like, oh my god, like all this setting and everything that you need to know about the story has somehow infiltrated your mind, but you don't know how or when. And I just find it incredible. So I would just love to sit back and listen to her talk, or just kind of hear how she gets into writing in that zone too. Yeah, it's because it seems seamless, but I'm 100% sure that it took a lot of careful plotting of words to make it happen like that.
cool. Dope. I think
Yeah.
we lost Ali for a second, but I think we have a question in the chats here.
Steph says, are there things that people have done or said to you that were maybe intended to be nice, but that should not have happened?
Ooh. Ooh. Do you wanna start, or do you want me to start for now while we're waiting?
Yeah, please.
All right. Oh, I think Ali's back. 1 second. I think she's back. There we go. All right. So there's a
Sorry.
question here that came up, Ali.
Are there things that people have done or said to you that were maybe intended to be nice, but that should have not happened? Of course. These types of things happen kind of often. I would say if I had to, make a little list, and that's good for a lot of things. People saying like you're really pretty for a blank is usually not good. So, you're pretty for a black girl, not great. The guys in my DMs that are telling me that I'm kind of pretty even though I'm disabled, not great either. We don't want to hear that. And also like just people, like I also had like someone tell me that I didn't deserve to be disabled because I was, I was like too great and stuff. And it's like, we shouldn't see disability as something that should happen to bad people, whatever a bad people is. It's just something that happens, and that can literally happen to anyone. And so that's why we need to actively try and battle ableism to make sure that society is accessible for all and that everybody can have a great, fulfilling life, and have the equal chances of being able to get there. So also the people asking me how I have sex, not great. Don't like being asked that unless you're trying to have sex with me, in which we can figure that out once that gets there. But other than that, it's inappropriate. It's not. I don't like it.
Yeah, well, it's a point that like having a presence online, people feel quite entitled sometimes to just let their opinions be known. So yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I also think that it's like when people see someone with a disability, they feel like they have the freedom or the liberty to ask whatever they want. And then sometimes, I think if we would have rebutted and say, would you ask this to an able-bodied person? Would you ask that exact same question? Would you be as bold to ask that exact same question?
Exactly. And most people just wouldn't be. And I'm still really lucky. Like, I don't have that big of a following. So these things, like, rarely happen, but they do sometimes. And it's like, when I do see people with bigger followings who get, like, just horrible, horrible comments sometimes, like, it's like, first of all, I think people don't realize that, we're real people behind the screen, but specifically that we have real issues that we have to battle on top of those things. So, like, on top of you, like, making and, like, saying an ableist thing to me, like, I also have to battle ableism in my real everyday life. And you're not helping me get there by being weird in my Instagram DMs.
It's a really good point. Yeah.
Facts. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a special one recently that was about someone who I just casually went into, and then I was on foot this day, so I usually live here part-time. And so I happened to be walking just on foot this time, and so this person unintentionally, like, she said, "Oh, it's great that you're walking today." And then, because at first she didn't realize it was me, I guess, because I had my hood up and stuff. And then she was like, "Oh, that's so great." And I was like, "Why?
Wow.
Why is it great that I'm walking?" And sometimes you just let it go, or you make it awkward or whatnot. And so I kind of flipped it and was like, "Well, sometimes you drive, sometimes you walk." And I was kind of trying to make that comparison. But for me, often it's about not fitting into one style of mobilizing that people get really caught up on. And there's like a lot of value judgment on one way or another, when really it's just a question of like convenience, speed, time, the way that my body's feeling that day, all those things, so yeah, those are some ones. And but I don't know about you guys, like, I know I'm hearing what I do myself, so I'm gonna do it for you,
Okay.
just to see if I can fix it.
Cool. Yeah. Like with my experience, and the person was like trying to mean well and all, and they were just like, "Oh, you would need a very special person in your life to be your partner. They'd have to be really special." And I'm like, "Why is that?" Well, they have to really have a disability, But that was not really helping, because it's like something that I have to deal with on a daily basis with regards to like dating life and such. So yeah.
Yeah. It's I feel like a lot of people don't understand how, like, big of a thing it can be for us, and they just say that and they get to just walk away with that thought, but we have to live with that thought. And I think, yeah, a lot of people would use understanding that we have to live in our bodies all the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I know we run a bit over our time, and this conversation is so awesome. I'm so glad that we got to connect in this way. Everybody, including Allie, it's so nice to get to know you a little bit. Very cool.
Thank you.
We should probably wrap up soon now. Hey, Gift.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ali, for joining us.
Thank you
And
so much for having me.
yeah, we look forward. I'm sure this won't be like the last collab. We look forward to connecting with you again very, very soon. And folks, we're going to leave the details on the comments. So just hit up Ali to follow her material. And yeah.
Mm-hmm. And another big thank you to Charles, who's been working the virtual board behind the scenes. Thank you. And to Brooke for your awesome interpreting skills. Thank you for joining us. As always, key member of our crew here.
Awesome. All right. Peace. We shall see you guys.
Yes, thank you so much for having me once again. It was really fun, and I hope we get to collab again for another project.
For sure.
Definitely. Thanks for joining us. And to everybody out there, we miss you. Hope to see you in person soon. But until then, we'll be here.
Good night.
Good night, everyone. Bye.
Here.